and insist that, now I ain't gonna say I ain't lied before, but I ain't lying now. I'm coming before you with a sincere heart, and I'm coming to you out of a place of righteousness. I'm clean now. I might not have been clean yesterday, but this ain't yesterday. This is today. And I'm coming before you, and I'm asking you, I'm begging you, I'm insisting that you hear me. Yes, sir.
He's basing his righteousness on other men. He's got to be, because he can't be compared his righteousness to God's righteousness, because there is no comparison.
Yes, Ron.
Somebody wants to kill him.
Yeah. But what verse is that in?
Well, we don't give.
Yes, so we're not there yet.
But he uses the word vindication.
Yeah. And what does that mean?
Somebody wants some payback.
What does vindication mean?
Someone is out righteous.
Yeah.
What he's done.
Yeah.
Payback for what he's done.
Yeah. He wants to be forgiven.
Yeah.
He wants his past not to be held against him. He wants God to be the one that judges him, and not anybody else. Yes, Reverend. Message. Brother Peterson.
Yes. Listen while I build my case, God. The most honest prayer you'll ever hear. Show the world I'm innocent. In your heart, you know I am.
Yeah. That's deep. Yeah. So he insists on his righteousness. He insists on his innocence. And he asks God to show everybody else that he's good. Yes, Mary.
I don't know. I'm kind of with Cornelius halfway. I think David's already saying, look, Lord. Hello? I think David's admitting he's not perfect, but he's saying, Lord, I throw myself on the mercy of the court, because I know what I've been dealing with. And sometimes we do know we're dealing with evil people, but I should say churchy things, but our flesh get in the way. We want what we want. But we're not willing to submit to evil people when they know a righteous God will defend him. He had a relationship with the Lord. So he was willing to trust the Lord to do the right thing, even though just like he did before when that plague hit, the Lord might decide to punish him, but he trusts the Lord's judgment more than that of his enemies.
Who does he want to vindicate him? He wants God to vindicate him. I don't want to be on the mercy of the court. I don't want to be judged by my brothers and sisters. I want to be judged by God, because God can see what's really right and true. And that's what he says. He says, you do this, you make this call, because you have a way of seeing things that people cannot imagine. They can't get it, but you can get it. Now you know me all my life. So you know everything there is to know about me. So I can't pull anything over on you. I can't pull the wool over your eyes. So don't leave me, but search me. You'll find out that this is what does Peterson say? This is the most sincere prayer you'll ever heard. Now that's a bold translation right there for Peterson to put that word on David's lips. I didn't read this in Hebrew, but I have a feeling David didn't say that. But if he had said it in the 21st century, it would have sounded a lot like that. And maybe in our arrogance, when we appear before God and offer to make our own cases for what we want from God, Mary says we want what we want. When you make your case before God, maybe there is a tendency to exaggerate the self, to find yourself blameless, to say I'm righteous. I know I ain't done nothing all day long. Now yesterday. Yeah, what's the next verse? Though you probe my heart, though you examine me at night and test me, you will find that I have planned no evil. My mouth has not transgressed. So, huh? Yeah. He's talking to God. And so he is, I think Peterson is on to something where he says, David says, listen, let me make this case. So he is trying to make a case. I don't know many prisoners who said on the first cross-examination or the first investigation that they just admitted that they confessed. So usually, if you watch the first 48 hours, it usually takes the criminal a minute to come around and say, okay, I did it. It was me. It was me. The first thing he says is, it wasn't me. I don't know nothing about it. I don't know none of them people. Yeah. But he's lying to a man in that instance. But that David is no fool. Deacon Stokely described him as wise enough to know he can't lie to God, not successfully. And the next verse, though people try to bribe me, I have kept myself from the ways of the violent through what your lips have commanded. I've done everything you said. I could have made money off of this. They try to pay me to do what they wanted me to do. But I ain't listening to them, Lord. I've been listening to you. So they try to get me to do what they wanted me to do, but I'm not going to do what 10 people tell me to do. I'm going to do what you said do. And David asserts that he has obeyed only the commands of God. Could it be? How many times did the children of Israel say, all that the Lord has said, we will do? Yeah, you can't count them all. And if you count all the times I said, Lord, if you get me out of this, I ain't gonna never do that no more. Yeah, I got a witness. Yeah. And I think most honest people would have a confession like mine when it comes to that. You get yourself into something that you can't get yourself out of, and so you ask God to get you out of it, and you ask God to examine you. You ask God to check you out. I don't want y'all checking me out. I want the Lord to check me out because I'd rather be in His hands than yours. Yes, Mary.
Well, that's a dangerous request because a lot of times we can't smell ourselves. And the Lord does have to make it plain.
What is the dangerous request?
Lord, you tell me my heart and search me and see what's in there. Because once He tells us, sometimes we're surprised what was in there.
Well, okay.
Do you think David for sure kept all the commandments or just kept his rights?
Yeah. Okay. Yes, sir.
And that's why since day one, man has been in a disagreement with God. We don't see God, but His presence is always there guiding us. And we look around and we don't see anything. If we cannot see Him, touch Him, hold Him, or do anything with Him, we don't want to believe.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Once again, David realized that he said, let God examine his heart. Because he already knew he didn't do everything right. He knew he didn't keep every commandment. Because none of us keep God every commandment. But for him realizing the fact that he said, Lord, now you be the one that examine my heart. You be the one that vindicate me from all the things I had done. Because at this time, he pleading to God because he realized God's good mercy on his life. It wasn't because he was that great. It was just God would have so much mercy on him, so he realized that, look, I'm going to you for this situation on one man.
Do you think this psalm is written before He leads me beside still waters and restores my soul. Probably not. Probably not, because it seems to come out of a different season. But he's spent enough time with God to trust God, and spend enough time knowing himself. I think, as Mary has said, that he knows the part that he confesses, and he knows the part that he keeps. So part of it, you don't mind confessing some things, but there's some confessions that you just ain't gonna make if you like most people. There's some things you just won't say. So and David comes before God. He doesn't come before God with his, with the whole table. He just comes with this page. He doesn't come with his whole life. He just comes with this one moment. Yes, Reverend. Reverend?
I was looking at Peterson, and Peterson was saying, I'm trying to get your way, your word's way. I'm staying on your trail. I'm putting one foot in front of the other.
What verse is that? Is that between 1 and 5?
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, he does say that I'm doing it right.
Yeah, and so I'm saying, I'm doing it right. God, you know my heart. You know I'm trying to do it right. But those folk, everybody else, you justify me, God, because you know my heart. And I'm doing everything you said according to your word. I'm staying on your trail.
Yeah. So he invites God in these verses to search him, to examine him. He insists, you vindicate me. You set me free. My steps have held to your paths. My feet have not stumbled. Now, have his feet stumbled? Yeah. We don't stumble every day. Maybe you don't stumble every day. But I've done my share of stumbling. And I'm not going to ask everybody who's ever stumbled to raise your hand or nothing like that. or to stand up. But it's the limitation of the law. We couldn't keep the law. We couldn't keep from stumbling. And if we could have, then there would have been no need for Jesus to die on the cross for our sins. But they couldn't keep the law so perfectly. So David he's full of himself. I have not stumbled. Oh, bruh, you mean like in the last half hour? What you talking about, man? Yes, ma'am.
He said, you know my heart. So when you look at it, when I would do good, evil is always present. My heart want to do good. But this flesh that I'm in keep getting in my way. But God, you know my heart. And every time I mess up, I don't want to mess up, God. But so that's why he looks at our heart. And that's what David is saying.
I didn't mean to stumble.
Yeah.
I didn't plan to stumble. I didn't intend to stumble. He didn't say that. He said I didn't stumble. Yes, Mary?
I believe that sometimes we get the older David mixed up with the younger David. And though he has a relationship and loves the Lord, he was a little unwise in his younger days. And I bet you he got tied up into some stuff and had to come to terms with who he really was.
I'm sure you're right, because what's new about sin? The technology. That's the only thing that's new. The reason David's sins were different than yours and mine was because he didn't have access to the internet, because he didn't have a Carter drive, because he couldn't fly in an airplane. The technology is different. But when it comes to human nature is human nature. That's why Americans say with such certainty that David has some skeletons in his closet. Because she's seen in my closet. She know I got skeletons. I put that on me, so I won't put it on you. Yeah, so we have skeletons, and some of them are pretty fresh. Still got flesh on the bones. Yeah, they won't stay in the closet. They keep getting out of the closet. Yeah. So it doesn't make sense to imagine David, who's described as a man after God's own heart, as a man who was perfect, as a man who had no problems, as a man who didn't stumble, even though one day when he was feeling himself, he said he was righteous, and he said he didn't stumble. But I don't know this David, but I do know some Davids, and all the Davids I know have stumbled there and there and there. Davidas too. Davidas, not just Davids, but Davidas, the girl Davids, yeah. Not that Davida, I don't know about, she probably ain't stumbled. I hope she's not listening. I hope nobody tells her, but not her. But it is in our nature to seek our own vindication. So we say what Reverend Falcon said, Lord, you know my heart. How many times have you heard that expression? I didn't mean to hurt you, but you know my heart. Say, I know your heart, but it's your head that I got issue with. Is what you thought and what you said. And so yeah, we begin with good intentions, but we're not always as successful as we would like to be in following through with our good intentions. So David says, "You search me." Yes, sir. Deacon Bell.
We are not as successful. No, we're not. But what we have done, that's another stumble. We fooled ourselves. We carry that, and that seems to just to continue, or what's the word I'm trying to think of? If God doesn't search our hearts, if He doesn't search our hearts, and we search and do the half job that we normally do, we still continue on that same road.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the burden of our humanity. It's what it means to be human, to be tempted, to be tried. Which is what makes God in our lives important. Because without Him, we are dead in our sins. Without Him, we're lost. And so I don't have a hard time accusing David of going a little bit too far when he celebrates his own righteousness and when he says, "I ain't stumbled." You lying. Yeah. And I know you're lying because he was a man, like a person. He was a human being like us, with all the issues that human beings go through. That's the burden of our humanity, and it's the blessing of our humanity, because we're the only creatures that He died to save. He didn't die to save flies or dogs or lions and tigers and bears. He died and rose to save us. So, with the burden of our humanity comes a certain blessing over our humanity. And the blessing is that we have a song that angels can't sing. We've been redeemed. So a little examination every now and then is a wonderful thing. We ought to trust God enough to examine us in the shipbuilding industry and in a lot of other industries, I suppose. There's what's called non-destructive testing. Now, some testing you have to destroy what you test in order to prove that it is what it is. Shipbuilding is one of those industries where the materials that are used to make to build a ship are subjected to non-destructive testing. And in non-destructive testing, you prove that it is what it's supposed to be. But it doesn't get destroyed in the test. Now, some things you test them, and the reason you know they are what you know paper is paper, because if you put it to a test of fire, it'll burn up. You say, yep, that was paper. But not so some of the metals that are used to build an aircraft carrier. They're subjected to non-destructive testing. And in our lives, thank God, we go through some non-destructive testing. The tests that we take don't destroy us, but they prove to us what we're made of. And they prove to us what we can do and what we can't do, and contributes in that way to the measure of our wisdom. Let's look at verses 6 through 12. I call on you, my God, for you will answer me. Turn your ear to me and hear my prayer. Show me the wonders of your great love, you who save by your right hand those who take refuge in you from their foes. Keep me as the apple of your eye. Hide me in the shadow of your wings from the wicked who are out to destroy me, from my mortal enemies who surround me. They close up their callous hearts and their mouths speak with arrogance. They've tracked me down. They now surround me with eyes alert to throw me to the ground. They are like a lion hungry for prey, like a fierce lion crouching in cover. That's where Ron tried to take us when I was in verse 1. So you got to stay with the text. You go to the end of the story. So the apple of the eye, what is that? The pupil. The pupil is the apple of the eye. In the Hebrew, the word would have been translated the little man in the eye. So when you get close enough to another person and you look another person in the eye, what do you see? You see yourself. You see a reflection of yourself in the eye of another person. If you people who can see, I remember when that was true, but I can't see it anymore. So I don't see the little man in the eye. But it's an expression of a sense of support. Yes, Mary.
I keep thinking how close you gotta be to see your reflection in somebody's eyes.
Yeah.
They face to face with me, and that's why Romans 8:38 and 39 is my favorite verse. You come to terms with just how nasty you are, and he loves you.
For some reason. Yeah. What happens to your vision if your pupil is injured? What happens to your vision if the pupil in your eye is destroyed? You lose your vision. You can't see anything. So do you guard your vision? We were goggles on the job, trying to make sure that our eyes are protected from projectiles, from anything that would get into the eye. We have a reflex. So I went to the eye doctor yesterday for a procedure on my eye, supposed to help me see better, and he described me as the man who doesn't like anybody to mess with his eyes, because he says, I'm going to need you to hold your eyes open and look up, hold as wide as you open your eyes as wide as you can. And I'm trying my best to keep my eyes open as wide as I can, but I'm also at the same time trying to watch this man mess with my eye and see what he's doing. What he's doing in my eyes, because my tendency is to guard my eyesight, because it's so precious to me. And so if anything gets close to my eyes, my eyelids close. They're interested in protecting my vision, protecting my eyesight, because I cherish my eyesight. When I first came to Virginia, I went over to, I think I went to Langley or Eustis, trying to get a primary care physician in this area. And at the time, they told me that the military treatment facilities weren't taking retirees, and so they sent me to someplace else. And I went to Bon Secours. I've always despised the fact that they named that hospital system Bon Secours. In the first place, it's a French phrase, and the pronunciation Bon Secours is incorrect. So I've always taken exception to that and felt silly saying Bon Secours when I know what the words really are. And so I never told them, but for some reason they started talking about good help, which is ultimately what that means. Bon is good, and secours comes from a Latin word that we use for keep, for protect, for save, for help. So we look for succor. We look for support. We look for keeping. We look for safety. We look for protection. We look for help. And so the psalmist in these verses describes his anxiety about the enemy surrounding him, and he speaks of the enemy in really adversarial terms, but he has sense enough to know that he can't keep himself. And the reason we need God to keep us is we can't keep ourselves. And so he lays on the mercy of God for protection. Shut up around me like I shut my eyes to protect my pupils. Shut up around me like I cover my children when danger's coming. How many times have you seen parents who, when the children were in danger, rush to the children and do everything they can to surround them? So the psalmist says that you cover me with your wings. It's an image of a female bird, or some species of birds, I suppose, a male bird going into protect mode. There are some birds that become downright indignant when people get too close to their young. People get too close to they'll run them off. Geese will do that. Turkeys will do that. They'll run them off. You ain't no business around here. These are my babies. And in the same way, the psalmist uses that kind of image to implore divine protection. That you would put me under your feathers. How does he say it, Reverend?
Oh, the message says, keep your eye on me. Hide me under your cool wing feathers from the wicked who are out to get me, from mortal enemies closing in. But I was remembering when I was in the country, and when a storm would come in, and if the chickens were still out, and they had, during this time when they had the little chicks, they wouldn't run it up in the chicken house. They would gather those little chicks up under their wings, and they would just huddle down and protect them. Yeah, they just protected them from the weather. They would sit out in the rain, though, but they did.
He needed, in his distress, a good place to hide. And he knew that this is a man who spent some time among the sheep in dangerous places. He fought wild animals and killed them, protecting sheep. So he knew something about what it meant to be protected. That's why he said, the Lord is my shepherd. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness. So becoming himself this dependent and praying to God to make a way for him is not a new experience. Imagine I have enough experience in the dark, out of doors, late at night, to know that you begin to see stuff and hear stuff, and ain't nothing out there. How many times have you sat on the perimeter around at night and you staring out into the woods, and all of a sudden you looking at that one space, wherever your field of fire is, and you see things moving at night. You hear things and wonder what they are. And so it would be the kind of experience that would move you to want to ask for some more help than you have with you. And so in his sense of exposure, there you go, David asked God to hide him. Protect me. Don't let them get to me. They're trying to get to me. They got me surrounded. But don't let them get me. They ain't no good anyway. Arrogant, not like me. They have plotted against me. And he had nerve enough to think he didn't deserve it. In this instance, based on everything we know about David's life at this time, he didn't deserve it. But as Mary said a few minutes ago, David had a life of seasons. And I think most people have lives of seasons. You might not have liked me if you had known me then. You might not like me now, but I'm just saying. So we have our our seasons. And David was in a place where he was so afraid of a powerful enemy, Saul, and his ability to take him out. David was a man who Saul had loved. But a lot of people who love you today hate you tomorrow. And it's often based on how they see themselves in you. Sometimes because they wish they were more like you, and sometimes because they wish you were more like them. Because goodness has a way of exposing evil. You put them side by side. Goodness makes evil stand out. And David's good made Saul's evil stand out. How many did Saul kill? Thousands. And how many did David kill? Tens of thousands. And so the women made up songs about Saul, about David. David was the one. David was the prince of Wakanda. He was the man. You remember how when the fight for the kingdom happened in the movie? What was the guy who fought the king? You remember his name? You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. But they were cousins. Yeah. But everybody in Wakanda really wanted the prince to be the king. They wanted him to win. And so they sang his praises. And the more they sang his praises, the more determined the murderer became. And the more determined he was to undo him. Yes, Mary?
I keep thinking because we went back to a righteous season when Saul was chasing him.
Mm-hmm.
But the Lord set that whole thing up. What you think about that, Pastor? That he put his baby boy running all over the desert for somebody to come and kill him.
What do I think about it?
And David still trusted.
I think that life is you won't get out of this life without some tests and trials. And often it is the test and the trial, this non-destructive test, that proves that you are who you say you are. That proves what you're made of. It's that test. It didn't kill you, but it refined you. It didn't kill you, but it changed you. Yes, sir.
And that was really proven when Saul went in the cave looking for David. David was right there, could have just reached out and killed him, but he didn't do it.
What was proven? What did that prove?
That proved that David was a good man, following God's instructions.
Yeah. He passed that test. Yeah.
I think it goes so far to say that the greater your purpose, the greater your test. And sometimes we don't know how great our purpose is and don't understand.
That's why Mary's in the booth. I call her the oracle, the producer. Let's look at the last two verses. 13 through 15. Cornelius is our mathematician. Rise up, Lord. Confront them. Yes. Bring them down. With your sword, rescue me from the wicked. By your hand, save me from such people, Lord, from those of this world whose reward is in this life. May what you have stored up for the wicked fill their bellies. May their children gorge themselves on it. And may there be leftover